Welcome to Healing Wisdom, a Thursday morning talk show featuring guests sharing their stories and knowledge. We discuss the healing aspects of the arts, metaphysics, social justice, and adventure through all types of terrain. So join me, Pandora Peoples, here on WOMR 92.1 FM in Provincetown and WFMR 91.3 FM in Orleans. We're streaming worldwide at WOMR.org. Today we're speaking with actress Mink Stoll, who is going to be a guest at the Tennessee Williams Festival Gala on Saturday, June 1st. We'll also be speaking with Synchronous, who will be at the Hawthorne Barn as part of the 20 Summers lineup, and that's happening on Sunday, June 2nd. My first guest, Mink Stoll, has appeared in every single John Waters feature film since 1966, beginning with Roman Candles. She's currently touring with Peaches Christ in Idol Worship. Welcome, Mink. Thank you so much for being with us.
Incredibly excited about coming to Provincetown.
Before we get into being one of John Waters' ensemble cast members, referred to as the Dreamlanders, tell us about the gala coming up on June 1st.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not exactly sure. I know that there's going to be day drinking, and there will be a conversation. David Kaplan, who has put the festival together and runs it for years, is an old friend of mine, and he and I will be having a rather interesting conversation about, in particular, Streetcar Named Desire, and some other female characters that Tennessee Williams has written.
Is there any similarity in how John Waters features women, or what his relationship is with women, or does it contrast with the way that Tennessee Williams relates to women?
I actually had never really given that any thought until David Kaplan brought it up with me today, and it is something we are going to talk about: disruptive women. So yes, there are some correlations. You have to remember, however, Tennessee Williams was writing in a certain time, and John Waters is writing in a completely different time. So the dynamics between men and women, and between and women in the world, are completely different in the varying time frames. So Tennessee was writing in a time that no longer exists. We can't even fathom what it was like when women didn't work, and women were spinsters at 25. And John doesn't really deal with spinsters. So they're very different, but they are similar in that they are vivid.
What are your thoughts on Divine embodying femininity?
Divine never thought of himself as a drag queen. Or he didn't. Well, I don't know if that's completely true. He may have on occasion thought of himself as a drag queen, but he didn't think of himself as a drag actor. He thought of himself as a man who played women's parts. And he played them as women. He did not play them for camp. He did not play them as outlandish. He played them as authentic and real as he could. And they came across as women. They did not come across as caricatures of women. So that's a little bit different from other drag queens who are an exaggeration. The way he looked sometimes seemed like an exaggeration, but the way he performed it real.
How did you meet John Waters?
I met him on the streets of Provincetown. I had gone up in the summer of 1966. I was up there to visit my sister, who was there, and she knew him from Baltimore, casually, not well, but she knew him, and we ran into him on the street. And it was, hello, Nancy, which was my name, meet John. And it was, and by the end of the summer, I hadn't even planned to stay the summer, but I liked it so much. I got a job and was living with my sister, and then John, my sister, and about 17 other people started living together in a kind of a handmade house at the very end of town that was owned by a guy named Prescott Townsend. It was quite a place. You had to climb a gangplank to get to it. It was a compound. It's not very good. It burned down in 1968.
Did that time in Provincetown together, the 20 of you all packed in, inspire or impact his filmmaking, his creative process, or any of the stories that he told with you, like your characters?
You have to ask John what his writing process is. I know that he gets up every morning and he writes from 6 to noon. He is incredibly disciplined, and he gets his ideas from all sorts of places. He reads a million newspapers and magazines, so he gets ideas from everywhere. How he comes up with his characters, though, is always a mystery to me. I really don't get it. I don't know where he thinks these things up. I'm fascinated by it, but I've never really tried to analyze it. I've just accepted it as a thing that is.
So he hands you the sides, he hands you the script, and you just...
And I say, thank you. And I learn the lines and I come to set ready to say them.
Do you want to talk about his ensemble cast, the Dreamlanders?
Well, the ensemble cast has changed, dramatically over the years because of the original ensemble. I'm pretty much the only one left. Mary Vivian Pierce is still alive, and Susan Lowe is still alive, but David Locklear's gone, Divine is gone, Edith is gone. So our original cadre, if you want to call it that, has been completely disrupted. We've had new people come in. We had Patty Hearst come in. We had Tracy Lords come in. We had Kathleen Turner, who, although she's only been in one film, feels like family. So, the family changed, but it's different now. Also, we haven't made a movie together since 2002 or 3. It's been a while.
After the first couple of films, did you have any idea how things would progress?
I had no idea. There was absolutely no way to predict what was going on. The first film that we made together is 3 8mm films shown at the same time with tape recorder. It's not, there was no way to predict or to foresee in any way at all that John would have become the personage that he is today. That there's a museum in Hollywood, the Museum of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, has a whole floor devoted to John and devoted to us in our early career, and to John and his own acting career. So it's been a ride. And I say this frequently. I'm glad when I was younger and working with John in the early days, I'm glad that I didn't know. I'm glad that none of us knew. I know it would have changed me. It would have made me insufferable. But I think it would have changed everybody if we hadn't been taking it for what it was that moment. We hadn't been just right there, right then. If we'd been thinking about what was going to come next, I don't think any of us would have done what we did.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process? Did you guys improvise at all?
There's no improvisation going on. We were expected to know our lines. When we got to the set, we knew our lines. There was no improv. John would stand behind the camera and mouth all the dialogue. He knew every word. So, it was tightly controlled chaos. There was plenty of room for laughter. We enjoyed ourselves. We had a good time, but we worked. We paid close attention to what we were doing, and we all really did as good a job as we could.
Help it, the girl can't help it. She can't help it, the girl can't help it. If she walks by, the men folks get in rows. She can't help it, the girl can't help it. If she winks an eye, the bread slice turn to toes. Can't help it, the girl can't help it. If she got a lot of what they call the moles. Can't help it, the girl can't help it. The girl can't help it. She was born.
If folks are just joining us now, you're listening to Healing Wisdom on WOMR, and we're speaking with actress Mink Stoll, who's going to be in Provincetown at the Tennessee Williams Gala, and that's happening Saturday, June 1st. There'll be live performances, hors d'oeuvres, creative drinks, and an auction. Folks can get tickets at twptown.org. Provincetown has a special Tennessee Williams connection. He used to come here to work on his plays. Mink Stoll, you've been in the Tennessee Williams Festival.
I did 2 plays. In 2011, I did a play called And now the cats with jeweled claws. And if you ask me to explain it to you, I can't. I didn't understand it when I was rehearsing it. I didn't understand it when I was performing it. It's a very odd experimental play. It is nonlinear and it's wacko. I had a good time with it because I got to be in Provincetown, and then we did it again in New York, and that was great. The next play that I did, which was 2 years later, is called The Mutilated, and that was a completely different experience. It was wonderful. Penny Arcade was my co-star, and we played two women in the French Quarter who were past our prime and struggling and broke. And it was called The Mutilated, partially because my character had a mastectomy. So she felt physically mutilated, but everybody was kind of mutilated spiritually and economically. And it was the two characters are frenemies. And when the play opens, they're in very enemy territory. So it's how they get through this and come back to their codependent friendship. They're not really friends, but they desperately need each other. And I loved doing that play. We did it at the Gifford House, if you know the Gifford House, and we started outside. It was such a creative. Cosmin Shibu directed it, and he started us outside, and we went inside. We did scenes all around the hotel. It was great. I loved it. I've never done anything quite like that before or since. That I'm kind of reading right now. I'm reading Summer and Smoke, and of course Streetcar and Night of the Iguana. I'm immersing myself kind of in these characters, and I will have more to say about them at the event. There's sort of a Madonna over here and the whore over here, and there's a lot of sexual tension and women who either have too much sexuality or not enough, or they're not in touch with it. And I mean, these are still current characters, but with his women, there's a certain, if they don't have some kind of a male, they all have to have a man because there is no other way to live. There's no other way to survive. They don't work. They don't have jobs. They can't get jobs. I mean, Alma in Summer and Smoke, she gives music lessons, she gives voice lessons, but she lives with her father and mother. And, and she's in her late 20s. So but she considers herself a spinster. So there's, this inability to sort of break out of a confined social cage, in a sense. And I mean, I think the men are also in these cages. I don't think it's just the women, but it's there is a kind of, a lot of Tennessee Williams women have a certain desperation. Blanche in Streetcar is desperate. Alma in Summer and Smoke is desperate. I forget the name of the woman in Night of the Iguana, but she's kind of desperate. So, it's this kind of a grasping for something. And a lot of it is a grasping for safety and security. And looking for a safe place, looking for a place where you can finally go, where you can exhale, and let, and be okay. I mean, I think maybe Desperate Living of John's films would be the closest to Tennessee Williams because the characters are all so desperate. So I think, that could be a Tennessee Williams play.
What's the most memorable part you played?
I spent a day in an iron lung. There is something so strange about being in this because it's a metal tube. My head was outside. My body was inside. There was a mirror above my head where I could see other people. I could see people around me, but I could not see myself. I could feel myself. I knew I was there, but we see ourselves. Unless you've experienced it, there's kind of just no way to describe what it's like to have absolutely no physical, visual connection with your own self. But that was weird. But at the end of the day, the crew applauded me. And that was really incredible. That was a very, very big moment for me. Thank you very much. This was fun.
You're looking at me 'cause I'm the king.
You've been listening to Healing Wisdom at Outermost Radio. All of our shows are podcasts at WOMR.org. Also check out healingwisdomradioshow.com and contact me at pandora@WOMR.org.